Welcome back to the Reality Guys. I'm your host, Brian, along with my co-host, Brett.
Konnichiwa.
We're here to talk 90 Day Fiancé the other way. This is season 4, episode 6. Love is one thing, knowledge is another. We're going to go couple by couple, but I actually really like the title of this because it kind of goes back to like being knowledgeable about where you're going, what the cultures are. And I think a lot of, especially with Jen and Rishi and Nicole and Mahmoud, I really not fully knowing the culture, I think is really going to drive a huge wedge in their relationships. We already thought they were dead in the water, but I didn't think it would be dead this quickly. And it's kind of just we've been saying it, like I mean we've been kind of the title is definitely clever, but we've like been saying this since day one. It's like you can't expect to go to these other countries where their religion is super like important and they're dedicated to it, and you're just gonna live your life.
Yeah. I mean that applies to like every situation. So we just watched The
Right.
Bachelor 2 and it's like, I love you. I think I'm falling in
Yeah.
love with you.
Right.
And it's just kind of very
Mm-hmm.
up in the air because any one little thing can send someone off in a
Exactly.
direction. I mean,
Exactly.
even in normal life, a lot of people get divorced. So, eventually maybe you love somebody and then you
Right. And
learn
those are
how you
yeah,
don't
and
like
those are like yeah, that's just stuff where you're on the same page. Like this is like stuff where it's just completely polar opposites, like oil and water. Let's run down each couple. We're not gonna, I mean, because they were kind of all over the place in this episode. But let's start with Jen and Rishi. So just right off the top of this episode, I actually was laughing a lot. Jen goes to this strange fitness class. I know, Brad, I know you like to work out. I like to work out as well. And she
Oh,
was
I
like, "Oh, I've
love
been what?"
Zumba work. Oh, I love Zumba workouts.
Yeah, it was. I mean, God, even Zumba, like he was just the guy was funny. His name was Deer, and she found him on the internet, and apparently was going to him every day at 8:30 in the morning to work out. And I was like, I'm not, I wasn't like, it's not, to me, that's not a workout class. It's a dance
I mean,
class.
it's a cardio class to some
Yeah.
extent, but the first thing I thought when it's like, oh, this is my friend Deer. I met him online. I'm like, I think Jen has a type here.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
likes these long haired Indian men that like to
Yeah.
work out.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But
Cause
I
yeah,
think
it's funny.
he might
Rishi's
be
also
of
a
the other.
workout guy.
What?
It's yeah, like you're right. Rishi's also a workout guy. So it's funny that I didn't even think of that till you said
Long hair Indian workout guy.
it. Yeah. 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 I think Rishi's more like he's like a PT. This guy just runs like some, like you said, a Zumba class. But she's apparently friends with this guy, and they haven't seen each other in 2 years since the last time she was back. And I was kind of writing this guy off, but I actually liked his input on the situation because he lives there, he knows the culture, and he was saying he basically throwing Rishi on the bus, like
Yeah.
if he wants it to work, he will make it work. And I think it sucks that she needed to hear it, but I think she needs to hear it. Like it sucks like for her, but like she needs to hear this stuff, like the hard truths.
No, that made sense. I was thinking the whole time, I'm like, is this just like low budget Rishi? He's trying to throw real Rishi under the bus and steal his woman because he's like, you didn't
I
choose
wasn't getting that
me.
vibe either. Yeah, yeah. So interesting. And they had like a little kite day too, where they have like kite wars in the sky later in the episode. And then Rishi wants Jen to move into his family's house. And like we saw before, it's not just those two living there, it's a bunch of people. It's his mom, uncle, like just the whole family's there. And that's definitely different here in America. Like you might have like maybe your grandparent or like that, but like or an aunt, but like that they have the whole squad.
I think in
So
America, you move the moms or whatever back in if you want help, but you don't like get married
yes,
and move your wife in to
right.
help the mom,
Yep.
which is
Yep.
kind of the vibe they do in India. So
Mhm.
yeah, they sent her to wifey boot camp.
Right. So yeah, yeah. Good. Rishi's like, oh, let's test this out. Jen obviously is like a little skeptical about it, and when she gets there, she learns about the things that she's gonna have to do if she's in this house. Like, not only does she need to take care of Rishi, she needs to take care of like all the dudes there. Like, get up at 4 in the morning and make tea. And I mean, this is just the cultural. It's just the cultural differences over there. And like, you should have looked this up. Like, I don't really feel bad for her. What do you
I
do?
thought, I mean, I don't know. I feel bad for it, but I guess you could have looked it up. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you got to know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah, I guess if you're really like thinking about moving there,
Yeah,
moving like marrying somebody aside, but moving there, like you should probably know what it's
yeah.
about.
That's why I'm always gonna. I can see why she's upset, but at the same time, this is the you got to know what you're getting yourself into, and It's a
Rishi's got
theme on the show.
Rishi's got rupees, man.
Yeah,
He moved her
he's
into that
got
nice
bread.
apartment just to move her back into like the
Right, I agree. Probably
ten
was
person
cutting. Yeah,
house.
he was bouncing his books, and he's like, I can't keep this forever.
Oh, yeah.
So I kind of think they're dead. I mean, it looks like in the preview sheet or something's up with their green card, or I think they're on the outs. Do you agree with that?
Definitely. Like I mean all of them I think are somewhat looking for excuses to go home, and
Hmm.
then once they're home they might not return. But yeah, I mean she basically I thought it was funny. She's like, I got 2 master's degrees. I'm not here to
Yep.
be a maid for his whole family.
Hmm.
I thought it
Hmm.
was interesting, just like the women are like, oh, we're not equal. We're not equal with men. But at the same time, like Rishi couldn't walk into the kitchen because there was a
Yeah.
bunch of women in the kitchen. I don't know. It's just
Right.
kind of weird stuff.
It's just stuff we don't know. I mean, that's not our culture, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just like it's different, and again, it just circles back to these people need to look up what they're getting themselves into.
And going back to the one thing her trainer said from Zumba class, he was like, the mom basically will obey the son. So Rishi can
Yeah,
say, hey, I'm
exactly.
marrying this white chick from America
Yep.
and you're going to accept it.
Yeah,
But he's
exactly.
still kind of like beating around the bush with what he's doing.
Exactly.
With the,
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, quick Debbie and Osama. They finally get there, and honestly, I was expecting more from this episode. It was kind of just like building up to them seeing each other. It looks like in the preview there's going to be some issues there as well, but I mean, it's part for the course of the show. But I just again, I don't see. Never had faith in this relationship. Cool that they got to see each other. They don't even look like they don't even make it to dinner, and it's already going to be an issue.
I mean, she rides a camel at some point, I think, from the
Yeah,
trailers. But yeah, all
delaying
I
the
have is
inevitable.
and what?
Delaying the inevitable.
Riding a camel?
No, no, I'm saying like it's not going to work, but they'll keep pushing it off, and then like oh,
Oh.
like it's kind of the same thing with when we get to Nicole.
Maybe
That
there's a reason they were introduced last, is because they're the shortest.
yeah, that's you're probably
Last in, first out.
yeah.
But all I wrote is that they met at the airport. I don't really
Yeah,
know what
that's
they.
really it. It was they had a lot of time, but like showing them getting excited, but it was really that was it.
And then the preview for next week, which is like he wants to send her home, I
Yeah,
get
I can't
something.
wait to
So
find
I
out
don't know.
why. I
We'll
can't wait
see.
to find out why. Okay, Johan and Danielle. So they kind of had an argument about this abortion thing. Looks like they patch it up. I still like I don't have any faith, especially what like Bill found out on the internet. Like again, they were there, but there wasn't a ton of them. That's like the only really notes I have on them. Do you have anything that you want to talk about for them?
I wrote that he found he the way he explained his story where he's like, I met a girl, she got pregnant. Next thing I heard, the baby was miscarried, and then like 3 months later, it was apparently aborted.
Yeah.
And he didn't know. He's like, I wanted that baby.
Right.
So
Right.
I don't know the full story, but that's his story of it, and it's just
I
sounds
don't know.
like
Yeah, we don't know enough. So what are we gonna say about it? It's just
it sounds like he might have knocked up another American chick, and she's like, "Nope, I'm not having any part of this." And then he found out through Skype 3 months later that she aborted it,
reckless
and was like,
speculation.
"Deuces, I'm back in LA."
Right. Right. Yeah. So not much on them. I'm sure we'll touch base more on them next week. All right. I want to save Mahmoud and Nicole for last just because they're the craziest. Gabe. Gabe wants. Oh, yeah. Okay, let's do this. Gabe wants to have top surgery. They had some funny moments on the episode where like his translator was like saying that his penis could cook, and they were laughing about it. They still haven't got to the point where they're going to talk to her parents, but I mean, they talked about like they went to the plastic surgeon there, and they had like some pretty in depth conversations about like I have no knowledge of like when you be a woman becomes a man, like what the penis is like, and they talked about it a lot, and it
I don't
was
think
kind
I've
of
ever
interesting.
read so
Yeah,
much
it was
about
kind of
penis in my
interesting.
entire life than reading the subtitles of this
Yeah,
episode.
and he was like saying like there's like like you squeeze the balls like a pump on one of them. Like I was like
Sounds funny.
that's crazy. Like I
Well,
didn't
there's
know
like
they did
different
that kind of stuff.
types. Yeah,
Yeah, I
like
didn't know that. Like he said, like you could just have it hooked like a joint, like an action figure arm, where you can like have it down and then you can like pull it up. I mean, it's
there was like three
honestly just
types.
kind
There
of
was like
impressed with medicine here.
there was the ball pumping one.
Yeah, that's what I
He
was
did.
saying. Yeah, that one's
And then
crazy.
there was the pipe cleaner one where you're like,
Yeah,
let's do this
yeah,
direction, let's do
yeah.
that
Right, right,
direction.
right.
And
It
then the
was
one
super
that he
interesting.
has, the one that Gabe has, I think is just like it's always erect.
Yeah,
So
that's
he
what it sounds like.
basically it's like just like walking around with a banana in your pants, and you have to just like tuck it whichever way direction you want.
That's why he
Which
has the
sounds like the
underwear,
pipe cleaner.
probably. I wonder if
Yeah.
that underwear he uses, like it like pads it so it doesn't look like he said he has a tent poking like out like
Yeah, I
this.
mean, he said he has to use sweatpants, or if he's wearing sweatpants, he has to tuck it or something. But
Yeah.
his underwear was actually before he had a dick, so that was
Okay.
supposed to be
Okay.
a bulge. And
Yeah,
yeah,
I found that segment pretty interesting. Like just learning about that stuff, I thought it was kind of crazy. But I
I
mean,
wrote a
again,
lot of shit down because I was like, I don't know what we're gonna
yeah,
talk about, but like,
yeah. I
oh,
mean, I'm not. I don't want to
penises.
dive too much in. I don't want to talk about penises the entire time. But I just thought it was interesting. If you haven't watched this episode yet, definitely listen to it. I thought it was interesting. Okay, Chris and Jamie. Kris again has like an episode in the cab. She's like a walking ailment. She also looks like she needs to go back to Alabama for a court case, and she needs to push the wedding date back. And I kind of understand where Jamie's coming at, where like there's just no good vibes coming from this relationship, unfortunately for them.
She's always got a story every episode. So
Yeah,
this time
yeah,
somebody stole her rare motorcycle given
right.
to her by her father, and
Yeah, I just it's just kind of crazy. And we'll have to see how this develops, but
he has
I
to
don't
go
know.
put this guy in jail, or
Yeah, yeah. She's like, I need this money. I don't know. I thought
relating
you
to
would
a
think,
movie I saw where I don't even know what movie it's called. I think it has Kevin Bacon, but he lets the guy walk from court so he can go kill himself with his knife. So that sounds like a Chris move.
yeah, no, wait, and it's like he's like a dad, right?
Yeah, his
Yeah,
son gets killed in a gas
that was
station.
actually like I actually enjoyed that movie. I saw it in
Oh,
college.
it's a good movie.
I thought it was actually pretty good.
That's
Whoever
a
knows
great
the
movie.
movie comment in it actually
I
was
think it's
interesting. I
Death
remember watching it in
Sentence.
college.
I think it's Death Sentence, but
I,
it
I,
just I just randomly thought of that because Chris and her knives. So
yeah,
I'm like,
because
this,
like yeah, that Kevin Bacon's like a suburban dad, like a good dude. It would be like me doing something like this. Like I'm like a normal ass guy, don't have knives, don't shoot guns. That's what the premise was. This guy was just a normal dude that was like, then he just goes on a rampage when his son gets killed. Check it out. I might need to go rewatch it. All right, let's get to the good stuff. Mahmoud and Nicole. Now we definitely think this is never going to work out, but they just kind of keep one upping the craziness or the issue is clothing. Like she wants to not cover her hair. She wants to like have revealing clothes, which I totally understand. But again, you need to know where you're going. And they decided they're going to open a clothing store where they're going to have like more like fashionable, but also moderate clothing for they're Islamic over there, right?
yeah. And
Okay.
she converted to
Yes,
Islam
right.
apparently, and she doesn't pray as much as he does. So that's something that he's like, oh, I'm gonna let it slide, but it bothers me.
Right, right. So they talk about they're going to go visit his uncle who like has a fabric factory, and they're going to like kind of get the gauge of this, which is cool, makes sense. I understand. I'm pro that move, but of course they get in a fight again because of what she's wearing. Are you going to cover your hair? Are you going to do this? Like she's like, I don't like it. It's too hot, and it just spirals, and then he walks away, and I just don't know how this is going to work. And it looks like next week they go somewhere. I don't know if it is the uncles, and they're just one of her biggest things. She doesn't know the language, and she doesn't carry around a translator. She's the only one that doesn't have a translator, and she should have a translator.
It's a good point.
And
Gabe had the translator earlier.
yeah,
It was on his
yeah.
phone.
It
So
was
I'm like,
yeah. It's
I need
not
to
yeah.
get this.
Exactly. You can have a translator. She's just choosing not to do it, which I don't get. And they're just talking shit about her. Like, oh, well, you need to teach her the right way. And I was like, if she could hear this, she would be. I mean,
I don't think she likes listening to other people. I think she just likes to
yeah,
biatch about her own
yeah,
situation.
complain. Yeah, she's yeah. I mean, not a huge fan of her. Like, not a huge fan of him either. Like if he says my love one more time,
Well, I mean, this episode, I don't know if he said it a single time because this was the first time that Mahmoud actually
he
got
said it.
like, pissed.
Yeah, he did get mad.
Like usually he's like, "Oh my love, it's okay, we'll work it out," and he seems very, you know, I guess compromising or to her or whatever. But like this episode, he's like, "Bitch, I
Yeah,
ain't about
this it's the straw that broke the camel's back this time.
it." Yeah,
He definitely said my love because when she couldn't light the stove, it's easy, my love. It's just easy. You turn it and you like, and it's just like if you played a drinking game, if they said my love or like any of them, like because Gabe and his significant other say it, and you'd be trashed. You'd have to get your stomach pumped.
I say penis in this episode.
You'd be blackout drunk. I enjoyed the episode. I'm looking forward to next week. I always think like this show just is like ramping up with the craziness. I'm glad some people are finding us and watching and looking towards our input. We appreciate that a lot. Keep up the comments. I'm going to respond to all of them probably later tonight. Just had a busy day. We got a ton of recordings. Monday's a busy day for us, same as Sunday. But we have a ton of stuff coming out. We're about to do Bachelor. We have Below Deck, Survivors on Wednesday. I mean, that's all I'm going to give you now. I mean, that's 4 or 5 episodes right there. But for myself and Brett, thank you. See you.
I love.
I love.